Hello BookTube, I have a history haul for you today. Let's get started. So first up is an order from Amazon. First up is Embers of the Hands, Hidden Histories of the Viking Age by Eleanor Barraclough. In imagining Viking, a certain image springs to mind. A barbaric warrior leaping ashore from a longboat and ready to terrorize the hapless local population of a northern European town. Yet while such characters define our imagination of the Viking Age today, they were in the minority. Instead, in the time-stopping soils, water and ice of the north, Eleanor Barraclough excavates a preserved lost world, one that reimagines a misunderstood society. By examining artifacts of the past, remnants of wooden gaming boards, elegant antler combs, doodles by imaginative children and bored teenagers, and runes that reveal hidden loves, furious curses, and drunken spouses summoned home from the pub, Barraclough illuminates life in the medieval Nordic world as not just a world of rampaging warriors, but as full of globally networked people with recognizable concerns. This is the history of all the people, children, enslaved people, seers, artisans, travelers, writers, who inhabited the medieval Nordic world, encompassing not just Norway, Denmark, and Sweden, but also Iceland, Greenland, the British Isles, continental Europe, and Russia. This is a history of a Viking age filled with real people of different ages, genders, and ethnicities, as told through the traces that they left behind. So, this book was longlisted for this year's Women's Prize, and I had a lot of luck with the other work of history that had been longlisted for the Women's Prize, so I thought I'll go ahead and pick this one up as well. Next up is a May new release, A Scorched Earth, A Global History of World War II by Paul Thomas Chamberlin, which you can go ahead and read David Murphy's review on Upward Letters Review. In popular memory, the Second World War was an unalloyed victory for freedom over totalitarianism, marking the demise of the Age of Empires and the triumph of an American-led democratic order. In Scorched Earth, historian Paul Thomas Chamberlin dispatches the myth of World War II as a good war. Instead, he depicts the conflict as it truly was, a massive battle beset by vicious racial atrocities fought between rival empires across huge stretches of Asia and Europe. The war was sparked by German and Japanese invasions that threatened the old powers' dominance, not by Allied opposition to fascism. The Allies achieved victory not through pluck and democratic idealism, but through savage firebombing raids on civilian targets and the slaughter of millions of Soviet soldiers. The Soviet Union and the United States emerged as hyper-militarized new imperial powers, each laying claim to former Axis holdings across the globe before turning on one another and triggering a new forever war. So, Scorched Earth, which I picked up because I don't really have much in the way of a history of World War II. So the next batch of books came from Yale University Press. They are currently at the end of a month-long 50% off sale that I jumped on earlier this month. First up is Texas, by An American History by Benjamin Heber Johnson, which is a naked hardback, so there is only a very brief little blurb. Tracing the influential history of the Lone Star State, Benjamin Heber Johnson offers a balanced and inclusive account that reveals the unsung achievements of Texas in democracy and pluralism, while also describing such horrors as mob violence and the expulsion of Indian peoples. And I also picked up California, an American History by John Mack Faragher. John Mack Faragher recounts California's multicultural history through a lively cast of characters, some famous, others unknown, including African-American Archie Lee, Sinkyone woman Sally Bell, and Jewish schoolgirl Marilyn Green. Faragher shows how California's diversity has led to turmoil and violence even as it fuels invention, improvisation, and the struggle for multicultural democracy. Sorry if I mispronounce Sinkyone, or Sinkyon, or Sinkyone. Anyway. And I also picked up Maria Theresa, Empress by Richard Bassett. Oh, that's where the damage came in. Okay. Maria Theresa was the single most powerful woman in 18th century Europe, the oldest surviving child of Holy Roman Emperor Charles VI. She ascended to the Habsburg throne aged just 23. Her succession was immediately contested by almost every power in Europe, but through a mixture of courage, diplomacy, and determination, she defended her claim. Over the next 40 years, she became a formidable leader, as well as a devoted wife and mother to 16 children. In this engrossing biography, Richard Bassett traces Maria Theresa's life and complex legacy. Drawing on hitherto unpublished sources, Bassett reveals her keen sense of moderation and tolerance, innovative ideas on free trade and finance, and studied reluctance to resort to policies of territorial expansion. Yet Maria Theresa's modernization policies were not entirely progressive. Anti-Semitism and an enduring suspicion of Protestantism greatly affected the lives of her subjects. So the final three books are from Princeton University Press. The first two are from Princeton University Press's own 50% off sale in the course of May. And the third one is a June new release that I got a bit early. If you pre-order with Princeton, in my experience, they will usually send the book, or you'll usually get the book about the month before the release date. Whether or not it's fully a month or a little more than a month, I don't quite recall, but the final book is a June release. And I have these books ordered via time. So first up is After 1177 BC, The Survival of Civilizations by Eric H. Cline, who previously wrote 1177 BC. At the end of the acclaimed history, 1177 BC, many of the late Bronze Age civilizations of the Aegean and Eastern Mediterranean lay in ruins, undone by invasion, revolt, natural disasters, famine, and the demise of international trade. An interconnected world that had boasted major empires and societies, relative peace, robust commerce, and monumental architecture was lost, and the so-called First Dark Age had begun. Now, after 1177 BC, Eric Cline tells us the compelling story of what happened next, over 4 centuries across the Aegean and Eastern Mediterranean world. It is a story of resilience, transformation, and success, as well as failures in an age of chaos and reconfiguration. After 1177 BC tells how the collapse of powerful late Bronze Age civilizations created new circumstances to which people and societies had to adapt. Those that failed to adjust disappeared from the world stage, while others transformed themselves, resulting in a new world order that included Phoenicians, Philistines, Israelites, Neo-Hittites, Neo-Assyrians, and Neo-Babylonians. Taking the story up to the resurgence of Greece, marked by the first Olympic Games in 776 BC, the book also describes how world-changing innovations such as the use of iron and the alphabet emerged amid chaos. So I've read 11.7 BC, and it's a mixed bag. On the one hand, it's a pretty good introduction to the late Bronze Age. But the book is also about the various theories and the history of the development of those theories of how the Bronze Age collapsed, and then more modern research and the history of that more modern research. So, yeah, it's fairly mixed, and I'm assuming this book is probably not going to be as mixed. It'll probably more centered on the what came after. But I need to read it first. Next up is Polis, a new history of the ancient Greek city-state from the early Iron Age to the end of antiquity by John Mack. The Greek polis, or city-state, was a resilient and adaptable political institution founded on the principles of citizenship, freedom, and equality. Emerging around 650 BCE and enduring to 350 CE, or BC and AD, depending on however you want to use those terms, it offered a means for collaboration among fellow city-states and social bargaining between a community and its elites. But at what cost? Polis proposes a panoramic account of the ancient Greek city-state, its diverse forms and enduring characteristics over the span of a millennium. And this landmark book, John Mack provides a new history of the polis, charting its spread and development into a common denominator for hundreds of communities from the Black Sea to North Africa and from the Near East to Italy. He explores its remarkable achievements as a political form, offering community autonomy, prosperity, public goods, and spaces of social justice for its members. He also reminds us that behind the success of civic ideology and institutions lie entanglements with domination, empire, and enslavement. Ma's sweeping and multifaceted narrative draws widely on a rich store of historical evidence while weighing in on lively scholarly debates and offering new readings of Aristotle as the great theoretician of the polis. And finally, the book that is coming out in June is The World at First Light, A New History of the Renaissance by Bernd, Roeck, translated by Patrick Baker. And let's see if it is. I believe it probably is translated from the German. Let's see if it will tell me. It does not. Just that it's translated by Patrick Baker. Okay, let's see if we can get this set up. The cultural epoch we know as the Renaissance emerged at a certain time and in a certain place. Why then and not earlier? Why there and not elsewhere? In The World at First Light, historian Bernd Roeck explores the cultural and historical preconditions that enabled the European Renaissance. Roeck shows that the rediscovery of ancient knowledge, including the science of the medieval Arab world, played a critical role in shaping the beginnings of Western modernity. He explains that the Renaissance emerged in a part of Europe where competing states and cities formed relatively open societies. Most of the era's creative minds, from Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo to Copernicus and Galileo, came from the middle classes. The art of arguing flowered, the basso continuo to intellectual and cultural breakthroughs. Roeck argues that two revolutions shaped the Renaissance: a media revolution triggered by Gutenberg's invention of movable type, which itself was a driving force behind the scientific revolution and the advent of modern science. He also reports on the dark side of the era: hatred of Jews, witch panic, religious wars, and the atrocities of colonialism. In a series of meditative counterfactuals, Roeck considers other cultural rebirths throughout the first millennium, from the Islamic Empire to the Carolingians, examining why the epic developments of the Renaissance took place in the West and not elsewhere. The complicated legacy of the Renaissance, he shows, encompasses the art of critical thinking as learned from the ancients, the emergence of the modern state, and the genesis of democracy. So, that is my history book haul for May. This probably will be the last book haul in May. I'm thinking about putting an order with Book People, which would be more along the lines of classics, canonical, modern, and contemporary fiction, poetry, and drama. And I would like to apologize if I seem a bit down. I'm not entirely sure what's wrong with me, but I'm not feeling great today. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and sign off for now, upload this video, and put these books on the shelves. Except for maybe the Viking book. I might read that in June for Historathon. But anyway, BookTube, until I see you tomorrow, thank you, have a great afternoon, and stay safe.